Hello and welcome to the Absolute Beginner Guitar Lesson Series. My name is Oliver and today's lesson is lesson number 13. So before we get started, as always, I hope you have your guitar out, tuned up to standard pitch, and I also hope you have a notebook or a binder or at the very least a piece of paper and something to write on in case you want to take some notes. So the subject of today's lesson is root note E string minor chord fingerings. And of course that sounds like a mouthful, but as we get into this, I think you're gonna understand where I'm coming from. So what we want to do here is we want to lay out some parameters of what we're going to be doing, some basic parameters. And the first parameter is that we are only going to be using the first three strings of the guitar. So that is the E string, the B string, and the G string. So we're only going to be using the first three strings of the guitar. And also, all of the root notes of these minor chords will be found on the E string. And also the root notes of these minor chords will all be notes that are found in the C major scale. Now, this is not to be confused with scale tone chords. This is not a set of chords used to be played in the key of C. We're merely using root notes that are in the C major scale because of our familiarity with those notes. We've been working with them. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the E minor chord, and because our root note is the open E note, we have an open string fingering or voicing. Now, the beautiful thing about this chord is you're probably not going to find an easier chord to play. We're simply going to play the open E, and then on the G string, we're going to play the open G, and on the B string, we're going to play the open B. So all together, we have open G, open B, and open E. This is our E minor chord. And of course, it's an open string voicing, and it's going to be unique to the minor chord where we have the open E string as the root note. The next chord we want to play is going to be F minor. So the first thing we need to do is we need to locate our root note F. And we can locate that at the first fret on the E string. And we're going to play with our index finger here. So now what we want to do is we want to bar across all three strings. Now I introduced the concept of a bar in the last lesson, and it's essentially where we use one finger to play notes on more than one string. So what we have is we're playing at the first fret on the G string, the first fret on the B string, and the first fret on the E string. And now we have F minor. And this is a closed fingering, and therefore it is movable. So we really only have two fingerings that we're going to use for these minor chords. And if we back it up, we start with the E minor chord, where we're just going to play the G, B, and E strings all open. The next chord we played was the F minor chord, and we established that we need to bar across all three strings. So we located our root note at the first fret of the E string, and then we barred across the G and the B strings. So we have F minor. So this is a movable form. So we're at the F minor chord. The next chord we want to play is the G minor chord. And all we really have to do is simply move this fingering, which is essentially one finger barred across three strings, such that the root note G is underneath our index finger on the E string. So we're at F at the first fret. We need to move up 2 frets to the G, and now we have the G minor chord. So that's the basic fundamental information. We have 2 chord fingerings, and to review, the E minor chord fingering is about as easy as we're going to get. We simply play the G, B, and E strings open. And that establishes the relationship between the 3 notes on the strings. They are all played at the same position. So we just need to maintain that relationship, and we will have a minor chord fingering with our root note on the E string. And when we went to the F minor chord, we established that we needed to bar across the G, B, and E strings. And we located our root note at the first fret on the E string, and then we applied our bar to get the F. And that established our movable chord fingering. And from there, all we really had to do was move this fingering to the various locations to find the root notes of the chords that we desire to play. So now that we have the basic information, we want to find ways to work with this information and turn this information into knowledge. So I don't want to ramble on. The next lesson is going to be the lesson where the culmination of these lessons centered around notes on the E string. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our major chord fingerings and our minor chord fingerings that we've learned, and we're going to combine them together and play the scale tone chords in the key of C major. So put in your time, put in your work, and I hope to see you there. Peace.